Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. So this is one of those Sundays when there are about 15 sermons in the lessons. Did you see them all? I mean, each time I was reading one of the sentences, it was like, wow, we could talk about that. Wow, we could talk about that. But the overall theme that I see is still about Epiphany. We are in the season of Epiphany. And as a reminder, Epiphany is the time when God made himself manifest to the three kings who were Gentiles. And we came to understand that this Christ child that was born, the one who came into the world to usher in the kingdom of heaven and to die for us and to conquer our sins, he came into the world not only for the Jews, but for the Gentiles as well. He came for all mankind. And that's what Epiphany, the season, is about, where we continue to look at the fact that God brought this light into the world, the light of hope, as the bishop said in his Christmas message, was not only Christ, but we too are called to be the light of the world. And so when you look at the lessons this morning, knowing that they were selected for the Epiphany season, the first one that jumps out to me is at the end of Micah, where he says, "He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God." So the overall theme of Matthew then is the Beatitudes. And we're all familiar with the Beatitudes, I think, where I don't really like the concept of the Beatitudes, in all honesty, where if you are poor in spirit, or if you are mourning, or you are meek, or thirsting for hunger and righteousness, you are blessed. And so this theme of God blessing us, the first time I became aware of that was in the Old Testament, where God reaches out to Abraham and helps Abraham understand, have his own epiphany of who God is. And he says to Abraham, "Abraham, I am going to bless you so that you will be a blessing to many." Isn't that beautiful? And that's exactly what has happened. That God, once he manifests himself to one person, whether it's Abraham or to the three kings or to those of us who are here today, when he manifests himself, he is blessing us. And through that blessing, we are to be a blessing to others. Through the light of Christ that came into the world, we are called to be the light of hope for others. Because we know and we have experienced that manifestation in our own lives. And as many of us are here today, that's how many stories there are of that manifestation, of that epiphany, of that awareness that there is one God and that he chose to manifest himself to mankind through his son Jesus. And so how do we bless others? Well, we bless others by doing justice, by loving, and by walking humbly with God. Now, the walking humbly with God is kind of a tricky one, because oftentimes people think that that is, humility gets a bad rap oftentimes, where people interpret it to be like the doormat, where you're going to be walked all over. And that's not what humility is about at all. My understanding of humility and being humble is to be who God created me to be, and not try to be Kinte or Dave or Mimi or anybody other than what God created me to be. And this journey through that manifestation in my life has led me to discover who I am, so that I can be one to bless others. The amazing thing is that it's in the blessing of others that we are blessed. And that is an amazing, life-giving, uplifting, joy-filled experience, is to know and understand that by giving we receive, right? I mean, it's the foolishness that Paul talks about in Corinthians. The entire gospel is a gospel of upside-down concepts, and it looks foolish to the world. That we are the ones, Paul goes on to say, who did God choose to do this work? He chose those of us who are present here today. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. He chose the weak in the world to shame the strong. He chose the low and despised in the world, things that are not, to reduce to nothing things that are, so that no one might boast in the presence of God. It's hard to understand and believe that, when I look at myself, that this is who God would choose to bless others. It's like, really, God? Like me? Why me? Like, why me? But also, why me? There's so many ways to interpret that. But why not me? And the fact that calling us to be his light in the world is what we are each about, and we can only affect those that we come into contact with. We can reach beyond, we can reach to greater heights, I suppose, but for me, it's about learning to be that light of hope to those who are struggling in this world today. I mean, many of us are struggling with everything that's going on around us, in our government, in our families, in our own health crises, perhaps. We're struggling people. Yet, we are the ones that are called to be the blessing. We are the ones that are called to reach out to those that come into our sphere of this little world and make a difference. Because we have that hope, we have that knowledge, we know the God who manifested himself to those wise men many years ago. And so during the rest of the Epiphany season, I invite you to look at places where you can bring that light of hope, where you can be a blessing to others so that they can be blessed, so that they can have their own epiphany. Amen.
Amen.